So you're going through the dungeon. You got your game set up for the night. You got your players ready. They're ready to go through the dungeon. Everything's going great, and then you do something wrong. It's going to happen to every DM that's out there. It happened to me last night. It's Tuesday morning, the day after my Monday night game. This is Eli with Elfbait, and I'm here to talk to you about DM mistakes. And in particular, the DM mistake I made last night, which is, in short, being unwilling to call a game and call it a night when you reach that point where you really should not, in good conscience, be continuing forward. And that's what happened. So, last week's session had left the party on their way up in a warlock's tower to rescue a tiefling who had been kidnapped for illicit purposes, and they had followed the clues and got information leading them back. Anyways, so a couple things went wrong here. The dungeon, as I had built it, allowed the party, or gave the party, reason to bypass most of the dungeon, which in and of itself isn't bad, but it led to the moment of misery. So with them having good reason to rush through the dungeon, bypassing most of the obstacles and most of the encounters to get to the end game, they ended up getting there before I was ready. And so instead of calling it a night at that point and saying, okay guys, we got to this point, I'm not ready to continue, let's call it here and come back next week, I'll have something ready, I pushed forward. So that's the short form. And really, this is something that's going to come up with any DM. As you're out there running games, you're going to run into the situations where you're not ready, you're not comfortable, you don't feel the energy in the room is good. And at these times, it's really an okay thing to do to say, hey, tonight's not good, or let's stop here. It's particularly ridiculous in my case from last night because we play in a space that's got like 200 board games. So it would have been easy to call it an hour early and spend an hour playing a lightweight board game, just kind of talking. So what ended up happening in this case is, I mean, it's okay to go into a part of a dungeon that's not prepared. If you're good at improv, and I am, or at least I'm told I am, it's not usually a problem. But you are setting yourself up for greater potential for failure, and that's what happened here. At this point, I had went too far with too little to really grip the players. The energy went out of the room, and we spent the next 45 minutes to an hour with me really floundering to try and save this game, to try and make it feel more like, try and recapture the energy. They had got to the top of the tower, they had fought the demon had grabbed the tiefling and gone through the portal that was up there, ending up in a distant place in the campaign setting. They followed him through. Where I failed is, rather than giving them the demon to fight and defeat on the other end of the portal, whether they could get back or not, he wasn't there. I put them on a chase, and for some reason I felt that I needed to give them reasons to delve deeper before they encountered him, and then they didn't encounter him, and that was because my description had floundered. It was just not a good moment, and it all comes from the fact that as a DM, I didn't make the right call. And so this is, it's nothing to kill yourself over. Certainly you're going to go ahead, and this is going to happen. Every DM that's ever run a game has had those sessions that didn't go according to plan, that didn't seem good, that almost seemed like they may have killed the moment, killed the game. I'm going to tell you that very rarely does a session kill the game. It may kill the momentum for the night. It may get everybody thinking about it, and it may leave some questions that need answering. And that's really where I'm at now. So what do you do when you hit that wall? Well, first of all, if you hit it, I mean, preferably you want to avoid it, but if you hit it, try to talk about it, as you know, and talk about it with your party. So what we did is, with the last half hour of the session, we did wrap it up. It was clear that the momentum was gone, so we spent the next half hour while we were picking up our stuff talking about what went wrong, what the players felt went wrong. I came clean. There was a good dialogue that started. In this case, the dialogue was started by one of my players, so I wanted to thank Derek for that. It was, having it come from the players, in my opinion, as a DM, is always, I find it's always more helpful if the conversations start at the player level instead of the DM level, because anything that the DM says often is sort of taken as this weird sort of gospel in a lot of cases, and you don't want that to be the case. You definitely want to have, if you can have the players you're creating the dialogues, it's better. I mean, you can contribute to them as a DM, but definitely want to see if you can get the players going as much as you can. So, course correction. That's really so identifying that, yes, there is a good place to stop. It's always a good thing as a DM to just say, we can't play beyond this point, let's stop. That's point number one. Point number two is talking about it. Making sure that you address the issue. Don't just walk away grumpy. If your group is the type of group that needs to ruminate on something for a while, fine. If you have a Facebook group for the game night like I do, talk to them the day after, throw it out there, but talk about it. Things left unsaid have a tendency to fester in your group, and they will get worse if they're left unaddressed. So, brings us to point number 3, which is, what do you do about it? How do you compensate for that? Well, it's not easy. One of the first things you're going to want to do, and this even came up at the table, is you may consider retconning stuff. Don't do it. Retconning never feels good. Even if retconning goes better for the party, it's always going to have that sour taste of, they're going to know that this isn't how it went the first time. You're going to know as a DM that it's not the way that it went the first time, and it's just not going to be as satisfying as playing it through. So don't retcon. I mean, unless something is absolutely egregiously wrong with, you missed a critical rule, you made a bad judgment that resulted in a catastrophic event, there's no need for a retcon. So, how do you course correct from a bad game session then? Well, it's an uphill battle at that point, and it's an uphill battle you're going to have to be honest about, and you're just going to have to accept. There's no happy pink cloud that floats in and delivers the answer. You've left your players flat-footed and feeling a little bit less grand about the game. So not only do you have to find a way to bring the story back on track. In my case, I've got to find a way to get them invested in this new location, preferably finding the tiefling and the demon and having that final confrontation that they were denied. But now, not only do I have to do that, but I've got to do it in a way that doesn't feel like I'm pandering to the party. It doesn't feel like I'm just throwing stuff at them to get them back on course. It can't feel forced. And so what I'm going to do here is, when I'm detailing this location that they're in, which I had hoped would be detailed by the time they got there, I figured I had another night and a half's worth of game before they got there. So, which is then 2 weeks worth of, or a week at least worth of prep time. So, what you will have, what I'm planning on doing is making writing up the rest of the location as a very robust dungeon that offers to them the meat and potatoes of D&D. Now, it's not going to be a bunch of consolation prizes. It's not going to be magic items laying around in the middle of the floor. But I've also got to dig myself out of a couple of holes that I set while I was floundering trying to keep the game going when I should have stopped it. I've established some character about the structure that they're in that I can't just undo. I can't ignore the character that I've already established. I've got to now work within that characterization. Locations like NPCs are characters. They have a feel, they have a style, they have a personality. I've already established a couple of those notes, and while I can shift from those initial notes, there's going to have to be a transition. So when you have these moments where you leave your party flat-footed or unhappy, do not try to be overly jarring or obvious about the course correction. Your temptation is going to be to make them happy. Well, the only way you're going to really truly make your players happy is by giving them an honest adventure. They're going to see right through it if you're just throwing stuff at them or you're apologizing through the encounters. A bunch of low challenge, easy kills with great reward is transparent. They're going to see right through that. So you have to redouble your efforts because you have to overcome that mistake you've already made, and then you have to still deliver a decent dungeon. So, it's always okay to call the game if things aren't going right. If things go wrong, talk about it. And then when you're course correcting from that bad session, make sure that you're honest about it. Make sure that whatever solution you come up with is from the heart. It's from that place of good DMing that you have inside you, that we all that you normally are playing from, and deliver that. Even if it's not 100% what it normally was, it's still an honest attempt. It's still going to get them back on course. I'm fully cognizant of the fact that with this current game, with this current adventure, that the rest of this particular little run here will kind of have this pile of disappointment on it. Some of the players were left with little side quests that were unfinished when they stepped through the portal. Those side quests may not necessarily be over and done with, but they're on hold. So there are other members of the party that they're going to really enjoy what's coming up, I'm sure. The setting that I have planned, I feel it's a good one, but I'm the DM and we always think that our stuff is great. But so the message really here is, first of all, don't be afraid to call the game. You're a referee. We use the term dungeon master or game master, but a lot of games use the term referee, and in many ways that's actually kind of the better description, because like a referee, you can call the game. You can put the game on hold. You have that. So that is going to be your best thing to do, is just to avoid the whole subject in the first place, and know that it's okay to call it quits. But then make sure you're honest and communicate with your players, and then also be honest with whatever you do to make up for it. Make a good adventure. Make a better adventure if you can out of it. If you can find a way to turn the cruddy start into an awesome finish even better. But do be honest with it. Don't pander to your players. Don't throw goodies at them. And that is it's really all you can do. Don't beat yourself up over it. Don't. And I'll admit I did this at first. The drive home from game was a somber drive. I really felt like I let my players down. But these are my friends. These are, some of them have played with me before. Some of them know me pretty well, even though they've never played with me well before. So, I mean, one of them's got the blissful advantage of never. This is the first time playing D&D, so he doesn't know what's what. So, he's in an awesome place. He'll never know what a mistake is unless I tell him. So, but be kind to yourself. You're a DM. You're a human being. You tell this story every week. You're there telling this story. You're occasionally going to miss a beat. It's okay. Just like your players have off nights where they're just not grooving on their character, or the party may have as a whole may have off nights where that synergy just isn't there. But on other nights, they're stellar. They're just popping and they're hitting every set, every beat. As a DM, we do that too. We have those nights where we've got the players totally enthralled. There's tears in their eyes, whatever. The action is gripping. But there's going to be those nights where you're running the game and you just fall flat. And it's okay. Because we're people, we're doing a lot of this on the fly. D&D is so much improv that even the best scripted dungeon, even the best written adventure, is going to run into points where you have to make a judgment call. Those judgments are made on the fly. 80%, 90% of the time, you're going to be spot on. There's still that percentage chance that you're not gonna make the right call. You're going to go left when you should have gone right, you get better at recognizing those as you go on, and just being willing to call it will help you a lot. Anyways, it's kind of a rambling answer, but I felt the day after was probably the best way to talk about it while it was fresh in my head, and the emotional connection was still there. We all get emotionally connected to this game. It's a good chunk of our life, and so that is really all I have to say on the subject of that DM miss. But yeah, thanks for tuning in again to Elfbait. Leave your comments, stories of your own fails. Those are always welcome. Anything you want to say below in the comments. If you have questions or topics that you'd like to hear me talk on, I can do that. I know it's been a while since I've had a game night recap. Kind of fell out of the rhythm of those for a bit, and so rather than try and bring everybody up to speed in the video, I'll probably just kick in where we are. And I apologize for any disjoint, but those are harder to make because they require a lot of recapping of details, and they're not so subject oriented. And finding a slot to make videos is hard. I mean, I still make them in my garage. You're probably hearing the washing machine going on. I have a house full of people, so I can't stop life. I just squeeze a video in when I can. So I'm happy to make them. I'm trying to keep them short. This one's going on about 20 minutes. Again, please, comments, questions, suggestions, throw them at me. Put them in the comments below. I do read the comments. I haven't been getting a lot of them. I think I'm still too small to be getting a ton of comments. But there are a good number of you out there following that I can see. And I would like to hear from you. So this is Eli with Elfbait, and we'll get through this. Have a good day.